Right now I have to stop saying Right now I have to stop saying
Oh, hi, I can say slut?
That's the best way to start yet. That's even better than the old drop. And we'll have many more. Yes, this is the DLS Stars pregame show. As you can see, there is no Sam. Yeah, our little buddy's not ready yet. We thought maybe today.
Still in the shop.
Took a turn.
Squirrel!
That's right. The parts that came in didn't work. They're going to have to order new parts. Maybe you have to charge you a little extra labor. Sam, we're pulling for you, man. Feel better. But it'll be me and Luds and John tonight, who's back. That means the full drop catalog is up for your disposal. We'll do that now here on the Stars pregame show.
Get ready, boys.
This is the DLS Stars pregame show on a Monday night to wrap up the month of March. Alongside Craig Ludwig, I'm Owen Newkirk. And of course, John Andersen is back in the helm after a debaucherous weekend down with his buddies in Austin. John, how's your stomach and your liver?
My mic is way over there. I pulled the Luds. Stomach is doing fine. It was not doing fine yesterday. I had one of those like 36-hour hangovers. But we are back.
See, Lud's
36-hour hangovers?
Your plan is you just never stop drinking and then you never get hungover.
Well, the line used to be is, it's always the day after.
Yes.
Right? And so it's always the day after, which is true. And I just said, well, if you never let the day after come, you're good until summer. Just let it during regular season. Don't let that day after come into play. So you have to kind of stay at it, but in moderation at it, but you just don't let it catch you.
Did you enjoy, boy, I'm already off topic, but this is where I want to know.
Is there a game tonight, by the way?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it in a minute. This is way more important. Did you need to sweat it out on those morning skates sometimes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think we all need to sweat it out. Well, wait, are you talking about game day skates?
Yeah.
No, there wasn't a lot of sweating going on there. It was basically to see how difficult it might be tonight. and if you needed to get kicked out of the game early,
because I'll tell you, my first year in hockey, again, it was the UHL, United Hockey League, so AA ECHL level. A lot of guys that had been at the AHL level, couple old NHL guys still hanging on, but maybe getting for whatever reason. The skill, the speed, I don't want to work out during the summer, you name it. Some really good hockey, but also AA. I was very quickly introduced to, boy, this morning skate does not smell good.
Yeah.
You'd stand near the bench. This is, again, smaller rinks, not NHL size, and you could smell the reek of alcohol at times.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like
on a morning skate.
And you can think if you stand on the outside of the pile, like coaches,
they
you
don't
always
smell
kind of get around the coaches, right? And the coaches, they know. And so what they'll do is they'll pick out a couple guys that they kind of have a good idea, and they'll start their little, chat in the morning. Here's what we're going to do, boys. And then you just see them kind of skating towards you a little bit.
Oh, no.
And then you just kind of start backing up. And so there have been a couple of times where players have skated away and coaches have kind of tried to chase them down. But that's kind of like you're already screwed.
You're already guilty. So you better play well then that night.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, let's talk about the game at hand, although I'd enjoy the Luds story time for sure. The Stars clinched a spot in the playoffs on Saturday night. And Luds, I know that you kind of scoffed at that and said it's no big deal, but it is an important box to check towards, which is obviously a much higher ultimate goal this year, which is to win a Stanley Cup. But you can't do that if you don't make the playoffs. They're going to do that again. And the question for me is they have 9 games, about 3 weeks plus, a little more than 3 weeks. What does this team have to focus on now that they can have that X next to their name with the playoffs?
It's the one thing that I wrote down for tonight's game. And the only thing I wrote down is they have to control, and I'm talking about against this team. I'm not looking forward to it, but control the game from beginning to end. This has been it's not an issue because they're winning hockey games, but I just think you have to be able to show against teams that are not in the playoffs or teams that are, on bubble teams, those kind of teams that you are ready to go for the playoffs. And it's kind of a stepping stone for when you're going to play the next team that's going to meet, or the next team. And I'm not talking about the playoffs. I'm talking about as you're going down this last 8-9 games, you want to be in control of your game. And we've seen games that, yes, they're coming on the right side of things. That's great. But your goaltender has had to make some good saves down this stretch. And we're seeing them, what was the number? Somewhere in the last 5 or 6 games getting outshot by
Well,
100.
I have some numbers for you. Would you like to hear them?
Yeah,
okay.
Might as well run them down.
On this exact topic, from February 1st to now, so essentially the last 2 months. Now, there was a 2-week break in there, so it was, let's call it a month and a half of games. It was about 22 games for the Stars from February 1st to now. Dallas is tied for the NHL lead in goals per game, averaging 3.95 with Washington, the other team at that number. That's nearly 4 goals a game, right? They're 9th in goals against, averaging only 2.73 goals allowed. That means they're almost not quite a goal and a half to the good as far as differential per game. And they have the second highest point percentage at 750, only St. Louis at 804. I mean, St. Louis has been on an absolute tear for a month and a half now. But on the flip side, so that's all good. They're winning games. They're outscoring their opponents. They're not giving up goals. But in the same span, they are 27th in shots per game, shots on goal, averaging 25.7 shots. They are 32nd last in the league during this span in shots against per game at 32. Now, their special teams, 5th in power play, 31%. 2nd in penalty kill, 85.5. Jake has a 9-10 save percentage. He's 9-4-2 during that span with a shutout. Casey is 6-0-1 with a 930 save percentage. They're getting great special teams, great goaltending. Is that what's carrying over or papering over this massive shot disparity?
Yeah, well, and the other thing that comes along with that is where are the shots coming from? You may be giving up things from the outside, from the perimeter, that aren't dangerous shots. And they've done a really good job of that, I think, all season long with this. But on the other side of the coin, they've given up some of these 10-bell shots where your goaltender has to make this incredible save. And those are the ones that it's just that concerns me heading into the playoffs, only because of that stretch that you're talking about. There's a lot of teams in there that don't score a lot of goals. So they're not going to score a lot of goals on high quality, or as you call, high danger chances anyways. It's when you're going to play Colorado or Winnipeg or Vegas or whoever that team is going to be that they have a better shooting percentage overall. And those guys don't need as many quality chances to score goals. Those are the ones that concern me. And I just think and nothing is going to change. They're not changing their system because they're having success with it. So as long as your goaltenders are able to make those saves, and you don't want to have to go back in a week after the playoff round may be over and say, these are the ones that I'm talking about. These are the ones, it was this time. And I don't want to have to look at that and say that. But again, like I say, they're not changing what they're doing because they're having success doing it overall. And you can play a little bit more. I've said this earlier. We had one team about 4 or 5 years ago. I changed my complete philosophy about how we were so tight in defending because we could score 4.5 goals a game with this team. And we went on to nationals, and ultimately we got to where we wanted to get to, but we were just a little bit short and we lost in overtime. But the bottom line is sometimes you say we have the ability, and I think Pete DeBoer said it, our team and our players, they don't need a lot of quality scoring chances. They can put the puck in the net when they get them. And that's that's how solves that problem.
So one of the guys that has been a big reason why they've been scoring is Roope Hintz, and he was named the NHL's second star of the week. This past week is week 23. He had 9 points, 2 goals, 7 assists, as you can see on the screen, in 4 games. Only Nikita Kucherov had more points. And when you go back in the last couple of months, because Kucherov has been tearing it up, he's the only one over the last basically 2 month span that has had more points in the NHL than Roope Hintz.
And there's nobody talking about Kucherov. No one. They don't talk about him. He's
have only maybe my favorite player to watch in the NHL.
He's got like a 25-1, which isn't bad, but chance of winning the Hart. He's not even in the conversation. So
He's a top three
you know
scorer in the
what?
league.
And he's just he's an all-around player. He can pass. And now I can understand it because of, the cast that they have put together in Braden Point and Hedman and guys like that. So maybe that has a little bit to do with it. But when you get back to Roope, I mean, you see where Hintz now and Robo especially, they are lighting it up together. I mean, they are on the same page, these two, and what's happening over the last couple of games. And I think Rantanen's got something like 7 points in his last 4 games or something like that. Now he's starting to join the party. So that's a great thing for the Dallas Stars. And we said it was going to take a little time for him to kind of get used to the way that these guys play versus, forget the Carolina, that wasn't there, but getting away from McKinnon, McCarrs, Nichushkins, and things like that. That's a totally different thing. So, and he's got to keep up pace with Hintz flying through the middle of the ice. So I think they're trying to he's starting to figure out that all now.
Well, Hintz has a 4-game point streak, which is those 9 points we just talked to you about. Wyatt Johnston has scored in 4 straight games on a separate line, by the way. Mikko Rantanen is on a 4-game point streak with 7 points during that span. Jason Robertson on a 3-game point streak, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. Those 3 plus Wyatt and Matt Duchene and, oh, by the way, Mason Marchment and Mikael Grann, those top 2 lines are really carrying the water offensively. But then you have Wyatt on the 3rd line, and we have Tyler Seguin getting healthy. It's a really good problem for the Stars to have to play the way they have. Lane in the chat said something about take a look at the shot differentials. We actually did a mini pod, if you haven't watched it yet, where we talked about Miro, and we did the numbers pre and post injury of where it's been. And Luds, that goes back to the numbers we were talking about, which is since Miro's been hurt, they have been really in the minus on shot differentials, whereas they were really heavily in the plus before Miro went down. And we went on a deep dive, so I don't want to waste too much time on it now, or not spend too much. But the point was, Miro with his skating and possession changes a lot about how the Stars play.
Yeah, after there's a shot made, right now what you see is that there's a shot and then there's a pass and there's an attempt to make a pass. When Heiskanen's there and there's a shot, and he's not the biggest guy, and he doesn't defend the hardest in front of his own net. There's times when he's not in the right position either. But when there's a save made, his quick feet get him to that loose puck, and then he skates with the puck. And then all of a sudden what happens is now you're ultimately spending more time in the neutral zone, which his numbers are great because he's got the puck in the neutral zone, and then you're spending more time in the offensive zone. So he transports that puck out with his legs, and then you keep the puck, and the passing becomes even elevated from what we see normally when Miro's not there. It's total opposite. Now it's kind of a struggle and a fight at times to get the pucks back after rebounds or off of pads and things like that, and they're spending a little bit more time in their zone, which leads to another shot here or there. And then you got to think about it. Then, and if you watch little tickers on the bottom of the screen, the minutes that they're playing, especially in the second period, I mean, I think Smith had a shift last game, and it was a minute 40, 50 or something like that.
And he was really good about keeping him short early. You mentioned this.
It was 30 seconds.
Then he got stuck.
He got stuck out there. And then he ran into one of his own players, and he's not playing tonight.
Yeah,
so,
we're going to talk about that too.
But anyway, so when you miss Miro, maybe you miss him the most in second periods where he can lug that puck out and get it out of a dangerous area with his legs all alone.
We have to time our break here, so we can't go too much into it. But Casey DeSmith was going to start. Philip Grubauer will be in net for Seattle. But for DeSmith, he is on an 8-game point streak personally. In his last 8 starts, he's 7-0-1. As I mentioned, in the last 2 months, he has a .930 save percentage. And Pete had an interesting quote this morning, Luds. He said, this is the kind of game that we don't have to play Casey. We had a day off. We didn't travel. We could easily play Jake again. But he said 2 reasons Casey deserves it. 1, he's played really well. He's earned more starts. He said he's been exceptional. And 2, he said, as we get to the end of the season here, there's no reason for us to overplay either of our goalies.
Well, it's a luxury to have a guy like that you can lean on in these times. And you know that should you need him in a playoff game, if that should happen. And there can be times where Jake gets into a game, because we're assuming Jake's going to start all these games, and he could get in game 2 or 3, and in the first 5 minutes, there's 2 goals that go in. And you got 12 minutes to go in the first period. You can take Jake out and just gather himself. You can put Casey in there, and he can kind of calm the waters. He'll get through the rest of the period, won't give anything up. But you tell your goaltender, I mean, if this happens, you come and you tell Jake right away, hey, you're going back in. Just, get your head together right here because we know we need you to win a cup. But I think right now the feeling is from the players, coaches, who's ever in there, we feel like we can win. And so wasn't there a line that Pete used about a month ago? He goes, we wanted Casey to push Jake.
Yes.
Well, I think by everything that Pete has said about how good he's been, he has pushed Jake in his own way, because now Jake knows if I don't play on top of my game, there's a chance Casey gets in there, and I don't want to lose a net to him, which is a good thing. And I think they probably have a great relationship. Yep. They're in it together. So it's a good problem to have, for those guys, and it's a great problem to have for the coaching staff.
In just a moment, let's talk about lineup news, including what Luddy alluded to about Sam Steele and Brendan Smith. We'll get to that next here on the Stars pregame show on DLLS. First, we talk about Sleeper. It's the best fantasy league platform out there. Put your puck knowledge to the test, or ball knowledge. It doesn't have to be hockey, but it should be, by testing whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats. Each week, you make those picks. We're going to show some from John in a moment, and you will have a chance to win some money. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries. You can stay ahead of the game and track league updates in real time, so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLSstars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Now, if you remember our Saturday night show, we showed the Sleeper leaderboard. And the Stars show of DLS's 4 main shows was pulling up the rear. We got the win. It was a little dicey toward the end, but we got one. So now let's see if John can continue that here tonight.
So who are we referring to, the one that I got last week when you say we got one?
No, I picked him on Saturday.
And you hit.
A 4-part ticket, and we got it, but it was a last-second shot on goal to save it. Otherwise, that one would have been enough to torpedo.
When you get into the world of more or less, that's sort of what you have to expect. But I believe I had one hit last week and then a loss. So what do you do when you lose? You get right back behind the wheel. So I am actually going to pick everything I picked again for that win last week. So we're going to go with Jason Robertson to record more than 0.5 goals. Thomas Harley more than 2.5 shots on goal. And until he starts doing it, although I think he did have like 1 million block shots in one of the game. But
he did.
As a Lindell, less than 2.5 block shots. $10 equals $78 can go towards my credit card debt I'm now in from having to take Ubers 40 minutes outside of Austin over the weekend. Fellas?
Thank you, John. I believe it was the Calgary game where Essa had 7 block shots.
Are you picking Essa to block less than 2.5?
Right. Because believe it or not,
you can't do more for every
I picked
entry.
Less on Saturday, and he did not.
I know, but it's going to be one out of so many. He doesn't come off the ice on a penalty kill.
I agree.
When are the most shots happening?
So,
why wouldn't you be taking the over?
He did, and he went.
But that
he went more.
Game.
No, we got burned like 2 or 3 times in a row, so we went less, and then Essa had 7. So
I don't understand why you wouldn't bet that more often than the other way.
Yeah, well,
I mean, when a guy spends 1:50 on every penalty kill.
Do you want to start doing these picks, Luds? You can take it off.
I would have changed that one. Now,
do you know how to screen record the Sleeper app on your phone?
What?
Yeah, brain emoji.
We'll worry about it later. All right, Luds, let's talk about the lineup. So let John throw up the forwards for the Stars, and the big omission tonight is Sam Steele. Steele, for those of you that may not have remembered, had an accidental on-ice collision during the game with Brendan Smith, a little friendly fire, and was seen on the bench, kind of not feeling great, kind of working it out. Well, he's not going to play tonight. The good news is it's not considered serious because he did participate at the morning skate today, and Pete called it maintenance. So it's an injury, but they don't think it's a long-term thing.
You know why that happened?
Well, they played a guy who hadn't been in the lineup for
this is a systems thing. Did you not watch that close enough?
I know what you're saying. He was talking about chasing
They're
their guys.
following their guys. Smith's guy's going this way. Steele's guy's going this way. They don't even look because they're chasing their own guys around, and they collide in the middle of the ice. It's because they're attracted to the guy they're supposed to have, and that's what happens. But that's what happens.
Are you blaming Steve Spott for this, Luds?
Luds, let it go.
Okay, so look at the forwards again. You see Oscar Beck, Colin Blackwell back in. They were scratched. They went with 11-7 for the game on Saturday and felt it worked by lessening the ice
Except
time.
they lost a player.
For the defense, they did lose a player, but now they're going back to 12-6. Now John flipped to the D. Same defense. Are we going to see those minutes for Harley and Lindell go up a little bit tonight because of it?
I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on the game because, again, you're trying to rest those guys and get them as much rest within the game. I think if they can get out and have a lead and control the game like I'm hoping that they do, maybe you see Bishop-Dumba pair play a little bit more, and you can spot guys in and out to be able to still keep Harley and Lindell obviously in the lineup and doing what they generally do. But I think you can slide some more minutes to a couple other guys if you need to.
Let's talk about the Seattle Kraken. They are going to make a couple lineup changes. Yeah, that's perfect. I love it. They're going to make a couple lineup changes. John Hayden and Cale Fleury are coming into the lineup. Start with the forwards, John. Hayden is in, and Ty Cartier comes out of the lineup. Chandler Stevenson, who had missed a handful of games due to injury, was back on Saturday. He's going to move up in center with Newman and Eberle. So, but they're jostling around. Luds, when you see them make changes, they move Shane Wright down. They put Jared McCann on the wing, and they're trying to play out the string here. What's going through their coaches' minds?
They're trying to see what they've got.
Yeah.
This is not – I don't think Ronnie France is going to sit around this summer. Like this was a disappointing –
No, I don't think they can.
This was a disappointing season for these guys. I think they expected –
new coach.
As they were coming along, yeah. And I think they expected to be a playoff team. And now they've got to figure out what do we have, what don't we have, and what pieces can we keep, and what pieces. And again, that's why they're going to try to give some more minutes to some guys and see what they have in there. And they got a lot of draft picks, and they're able to turn them into players. But they got to be able to package them up with something, and that's probably what they're going to do from here on out.
The other thing that's interesting is the Kraken are close to the salary cap. They have a little bit of space at the end of this season, but it's not as though they were a salary floor team. I would have to do a deeper dive with next season, but the assumption is they did retain some money on Yanni Gourde so they could make that trade and get a couple of players. And that was the other thing. At the deadline, they traded away Brendan Tanev to Winnipeg, which we saw the last Jets-Stars game. They got a second-round pick in 2027. They traded Daniel Sprong to New Jersey for a seventh-round pick in 26, which is not this draft, but next year's draft. And then, of course, they had the three-team trade with Detroit and with Tampa, which sent Oliver Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gourde to the Lightning. They ended up getting a 26 first, a 27 first, and a 25 second to make those moves. So there you go, bunch of extra picks. But they can't, to me, Luds, they can't just use those picks as selecting players because that's a 3 to 5 year down the road strategy. Yeah. And if they miss the playoffs 3 years in a row after making it in their inaugural year, as we talked about on Saturday, you start to wonder if that fan support wanes because the novelty's worn off.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, is you're going to take some of those picks and you're going to have to be able to toss them in to grab some players that you can remake your team in some way. I mean, the winners in that obviously were Tampa Bay and Winnipeg because they both got pieces that they needed. Obviously, with Gourde going back to Tampa, they know exactly where he fits in. And Tanev, much like his brother, I mean, you get what you get out of that guy every single shift. But as far as Seattle goes, I think they're going to have to find ways, and that's what they're doing. But they're going to have to find ways to inject some players, make a big move or not, or two possibly, but something to get that team back to where they are going to be a competitor to be in the playoffs.
As it stands right now, they have a projected about $20 million in cap space for next season, with 15 of potential 23 NHL roster spots available. That means they have 8 open contracts, so to speak, and $20 million. That's not that much for 8, but there is room to take a big swing if they wanted to.
Yeah, if they want to. And again, I don't think they're just going to throw it all in, but I'm just saying they're going to have to make some substantial kind of moves here.
The Stars have a chance to sweep the season series. And, of course, for whatever it's worth, but they have absolutely feasted on Seattle. They have not had a regulation loss in the last 3 years against the Kraken. Knock on wood, because you don't want to jinx it, even though I don't believe in the broadcaster's curse. But, Luds, frankly, with the way they are and where the Kraken are in the standings, is this, if you don't get a result tonight, would this be considered a massive disappointment for Dallas?
No, I don't think it's massive. But I just think that I don't see that happening just because of I'm guessing that there was few conversations that went on in the last 24 hours or so that they've got to be better all around, and especially, puck management and being a little bit more secure in your own zone and moving pucks in. And if we have to play a little bit more territorial where we give up the puck a little bit more at the offensive blue line and don't keep it, those kind of plays that lead to rushes going the other way. So because I just think that's got to be a way that, not that you're going to take away from their game, but you have to be able to manage game properly. And you might as well start learning on the road. That's what you're going to have to do. You're not going to be able to play, if you should happen to play a team like Colorado, I don't think it's a team you want to exchange chances with.
I'm looking at the standings and the scoreboard. Colorado's beating Calgary 2-0 right now early. You and I saw the Cale Makar goal, which was their second. He's pretty special. The Stars have a 7-point lead over the Avalanche with a game in hand. Colorado winning tonight could cut it to 5, but then the Stars would have 2 games in hand. Then they play the Kraken tonight. You see where we're getting at. So they still have to me, with 9 games left, the driver's seat for at least the second spot in the Central. They are 6 points behind the Jets because Winnipeg won yesterday. And so in doing so, Jets have 8 games left. Stars have 9. They have the game in hand. They have the head-to-head. It still could happen. And Winnipeg has a tough stretch down, schedule down the stretch here in the last 3 weeks. But I still think it's the Jets' division title to lose.
Oh, for sure, it's theirs to lose. I mean, like I said, how many games do they have left?
They have 8 games left.
They got 8. They win half their games. It can be close, but I'm just saying, I think you're planning on, well, you're not planning on it, but your odds are you're probably playing Colorado. And you know what? Regardless of who they're going to play, these are the 2 things I'm talking about.
You want to know what's crazy about your math? Let's say Winnipeg goes 4-4. Let's assume it's a head-to-head against the Stars that Dallas beats them. So that's 8 points. Yep. They would have 114. Yep. Dallas would have to get 14 of the last possible 18 points to tie them.
So you're playing at an 850, 900% winning.
Well,
point?
I mean, the Stars have played, which seems pretty ridiculous.
They can do that.
They've been playing
they don't have
750 hockey for 41 games. That's half a season.
Yeah,
that's a good sample size.
I mean, they can. It's not that they can't do that, but again, you're not kind of throwing everything out there just to well, maybe you are sometimes, to avoid a Colorado, and because that would be nice. I mean, it'd be nice to avoid them, but again, I just think it's important that they get their game together. Okay, that's the biggest thing.
Let me ask you, let's say you put everything in one basket to try to catch the Jets.
Yep.
You avoid Colorado. If you succeed, you get either Minnesota, which I like that matchup, or the hottest team in the NHL in 9 straight wins in St. Louis.
The St. Louis thing, that even as hot as they are, I will still take St. Louis
over Colorado.
Yeah. I would take either one of them over Colorado, in my opinion.
Even with big game Binnington in the net?
All you have to do is run him one time. Just one guy. Just run him one time. Let's get to the next guy.
I mean, we got a minute or so left. The job that Jim Montgomery has done since coming over after getting fired by Boston this year.
That's where I would be concerned. I just think that's really coming back on Boston. Like, it wasn't the coach.
It wasn't.
It was not the coach. You had flaws in your players and everything that started at the beginning of the year with the goaltender. And, now you got the Brad Marchand. Anyway, they had issues, I think, internally there. On the bench, there was a couple of times. But it's not Monty, because Monty has proven, obviously, what he's done. He's got a since, I don't even remember the date, but they're playing at like 16-7 or something like that.
Yes. It was basically since the beginning of February.
Yeah.
They have the best record in the league.
It's incredible what they're doing. And they're doing it by defending. And again, we talked about, and this was a former coach that told me that actually is working with them. It's how they create their goals. It's what they do in the offensive zone.
I don't know if it's the same one you're referring to, but there's a lot of Ken Hitchcock in Jim Montgomery's style.
Yeah, it's Hitch. Well, Hitch is actually working with them.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah. He had
been consulting with
part of the organization.
When Monty was with Dallas, he had been consulting, and I mean, Monty followed Hitch. Remember Hitch's second go around with the Stars. So no surprise there, because there are a lot of similarities the way that Monty played when he was with Dallas to the way Hitch played.
Yeah, and let's just put it this way: Monty's his own guy.
Yes,
but to have a resource like Hitch there. And Doug Armstrong is obviously a great general manager. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, as whatever they want to call it. He's actually in a transition right now, moving out, and Steen's moving in.
That's right.
It's going to happen, I believe, next year.
He's going to become president of hockey ops.
Yeah, he's going to go sit up in the tower.
He's going to.
Yeah. Yeah. So
let go of the reins a little bit.
yeah, but he's made some unbelievable moves. Army has, and he would not give up. He was not going to give up and start shipping people out. He wanted the fans. He said he's not going to do a rebuild. Well, we think that we can scratch and claw to find a way to maybe make it into the playoffs.
You know,
now look where they are.
That's a great point, because when I look at the standings tonight, I remember rewind 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, if you want to go to trade deadline time, I would have bet good money. Well, I wouldn't, but I would have said I would have. That
You
Vancouver,
shouldn't, the way your picks are going on
clearly,
Sleeper.
Vancouver or Calgary would have finished with a better chance of that second wild card
Right.
over. I would have said, sorry, St. Louis, nice little run, but it's going to probably be the Canucks, and maybe it'll be the Flames. They're 6 points. St. Louis is 6 points clear of Vancouver and 7 of Calgary. Like, I look at this now and go, with 3 weeks to go, boy, Calgary and Vancouver almost don't have a chance at making
Right.
the playoffs.
Yeah, it's slim right now.
It's really stunning. So good on Armstrong for seeing that. Good on Monty and the players. And, you know, we might see a Winnipeg St. Louis first round, maybe Dallas St. Louis. That would be interesting. But you're right. Maybe avoiding Colorado wouldn't be such a bad thing.
I would be okay with that.
Yep. All right. Well, that's it for us for the pregame show. We have lots more, including a pile of super chats, I'm sure, for the postgame. We had some fun the other night, John. We had a $200 super chat. We had a $100.
You guys had fun on this show?
Well, you know, when you're around, maybe. Either way, we'll have a good time. Right after the game tonight, Stars and Kraken up in Seattle. Enjoy. Come join us for the DLS Stars postgame show afterwards.
Release the Kraken.
We all silly like the mayor.